it actually does surprise me that some people think that Richard is playing some kind of long con that involves making working test nets to try and sort of like delay the scam. Like, and then he's just going to rug pull and not actually launch the chain. Like that is insane. And we've talked about this previously, but there's still people out there who genuinely think that Pulse Chain is not going to launch. And they're obviously either not in the community, so they actually don't see how much activity is actually happening, or maybe they're just not like technically competent to be able to actually assess that the testnet, or that maybe they think it's like easy to make testnet that looks like it's not working. But people who have been in crypto a while know that there literally is no difference between a testnet and a mainnet, other than one has like assets, its native asset, and the assets on top of it can actually be traded into things that eventually lead to goods and services or fiat currencies. That's literally the only difference from a technical standpoint. Apart from that, they are identical.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm idly sitting back and I understand the technology. It takes time. But I think what it is that we're a community that we're really involved. And I think that this chain is really powered to the people, right? It's not a big company that's basically launching this. It's not major investors that are backing the project. It's not a university that's behind the technology and the science. It really is one person, right? It's Richard Hart. It's his ideal of a blockchain, and he had no input from either a university or investment bankers, investors. Basically, he brought it to us, to the people, to the public. So it really is like a real public blockchain, really DeFi. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if there's other ones out there that launched like this one, but so good. And that's how come people who are not part of the community. I just came to know, and I only wish I knew you guys back in the Hex days, but I knew about it during the sacrifice of PLSX. But there is patience because we understand it, but there's a lot of people that don't understand it because they don't understand that with all the other tokens, they got in at launch. They didn't get in, an airdrop such as this. This is a different type of airdrops. I think we're starting to see a lot more sacrifice types of launches, but I think this is maybe one of the first that a lot of people are in.
Because I actually believe in Hex and Pulse and PulseX and Richard and myself, man. Like I'm manifest this shit. Do you guys remember when I was down south at a fucking party and I tweeted out, I was like, fuck this noise. I am manifesting crypto to go fucking up. And if you don't see it going up, then you've split off on some alternate timeline, and good luck, because you're going to have a bad time on that. And then that was like the fucking bottom, man. That was the bottom. We've been going up ever since.
But don't you think that this is a different type of a blockchain that the public is taking part in a lot more, and they're sitting with basically sacrifices that they sacrificed over a year, and of course PLS is 2 years, coming upon 2 years, I think it is. But the thing is that all the other chains, they were brought about because of university research, and then there's investors, and they were the first. They sat through all this. I don't think the public, within chat rooms and discussion boards, voiced their nervousness that it didn't launch just yet. Because when you're behind the scenes, such as, let's say Richard Hart, they're making the decision with him and the developers. With other blockchains, they made a decision as well, and that's the investors agreed with the developers because, what did the investors know?
I mean, Ethereum had an ICO, took 2 years to develop, but now a year after its ICO, it launched. It wasn't a organization that did it. I mean, it was a startup basically, right? That was Ethereum. Bitcoin, we all know how Bitcoin was founded. Those are the only two blockchains that I really care about. And then Pulse Chain.
I do want to remind everyone something that I say often is that try to avoid sort of like creating a theoretical scenario that one network participant might behave like, and then applying it to everyone, and that the price can go up even without mass adoption.
Well, I think the fear could be diminished if you really take a look at, if you understand the technology and you run a validator, or you try running a validator, you just can't really do that, and what it does. And now with the interfaces that with all the testnet, you just can't do that with some fake stuff that's, going on for a year, 2 years, that people think that Richard Hart is basically, it's a ploy just to get all the sacrifice. I mean, if you're not understanding it, I think you should just wait until launch, and then wait until, fiat could trade fiat for PLS and PLSX. I think just wait and chill out for that. But if you sacrifice, you really should take a look at, why don't you try basically, and I'm sure there's not people in this room, but if people are listening, and if you have a fear and you're worried about that, you shouldn't be spreading rumors that this is all FUD and it's not going to come true. Technology just takes time and revisions. But try running and looking at the documentation of running a validator. That actually works. You understand what I'm trying to explain is that I think we see behind the scenes. This is the beauty of this. I mean, people don't realize that we really are seeing behind the scenes of a launch. You can't get better. This is front row seats.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I think, Aldo, you nailed it. It was good advice, dude. People really should wait. And I think that's responsible shilling. Listen, man, there's always going to be, anytime there's any anticipation, there's always going to be the two sides of the coin. You're going to have yay, hooray, cheerleader side. And then you're going to have the doubter, the disbeliever, the hater, whatever, that club. So people that want to spend their time like actually getting angry and calling Richard a scammer, that's a weird waste of energy. It's all good. Like, people can be patient, and there's nothing wrong if it launches and it does 1,000x out of the gate, from sac price or whatever metric you want to use. Like, that's okay too. It's okay to be so skeptical that you miss 1,000x just so that you don't do something irresponsible with your money.
Now, suppose it does do a 900, 1,000x out of the gate. Now, if that happens, you're going to get a lot of people eyebrows raised, of course. Is it true that we wouldn't really have much equity at first for anybody to really, quote unquote, get rich off of when things launch?
Well, sure. So if you don't have an off ramp, right, then you have gains with respect to whatever assets you can exchange for. So just your pulse chain assets swapping for one another. But theoretically, in a matter of days, hours, whatever, when that bridge does come along, then you'll be able to bring in stable coins, and you would theoretically have as much liquidity as either the bridge could service, the LPs could service, or the off ramps could service.
Yeah, nice.
The thing is that, we're really trying to push people to onboard, pre-launch with their wallets. I think that we've done a good service to the crypto community, and that it actually encouraged me to move it over to an actual physical wallet and move it off of an exchange. And I'm glad I did that. And not that I was on any of the exchanges that went out of business, but the thing is that I moved it all over, and I think with all all the information out there and what really PLS is all about, and how Richard Hart explained things. You are the bank, basically. That's my tagline. You are the bank. So that means that you hold your funds, you hold your currency, your crypto. So there's no one else that holds it. But the thing is that we're also trying to have people adopt this pre-launch and saying that, okay, you're going to get all your ERC20s. I think that we're trying to beat a horse that we've already beaten so much, in that people they're not going to get it. And I hate to be a real, excuse my language, a prick about it, but you want to know something? Maybe they should just wait after launch, because that's where the price appreciation will happen in the adoption. If the adoption happens after launch, and I'm saying after the bridge, that's actually better for all of us, because it looks like that we're all in here, discussing this, and I know that everyone here looks like they're people who have sacrificed. So I think it would be a better thing if everyone everyone is onboarded even after the bridge.
Yeah, dude. Of course.
Well, at this point, they don't have a choice. Sacrifice is done. All new money, even money that, like, I have people that I'm talking to that I'm trying to explain technically how to, like, where do you need to go? What websites are trusted, right? Pulsex or like Uniswap, like bridge, like explaining how a bridge works and like why is that important and time frames. 24 to 48 hours after Pulsechain is live, the bridge is supposed to be live. That means that there's wrap PLS on Ethereum paired to ETH, USDC, whatever assets, and now you can actually buy it. Like, what's that look like? New people, right? And then it's on them to, do it or not, right? A couple people I'm trying to like walk through that process.
From what I remember, the bridge is not like no one, Richard, no one else ever guaranteed that the bridge was going to be 48 hours after launch. That was like estimates being made from people within the community. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong about that. No timeline was specifically given.
Ian said it could be a couple of minutes.
It needs to be a minimum of 1 microsecond. Literally 1 microsecond needs to pass just for tax purposes so that the shit theoretically launches at 0 and then the bridge can exist. It just can't,
Yes.
it can't exist concurrently with the launch. So it could be anywhere from 1 nanosecond to fucking infinity, like weeks, fucking years. I guess actually years would be a fuck up, but like say a week
Days,
or 2 weeks
guys,
or something.
days. 1 day.
That's what I
2
heard.
days. Could be a
That's
week,
what I heard.
right? It's going to be more than a day, but it's going to be, say a day to a week time frame is reasonable.
Yeah. We can say to the fucking moon.
Fuck yeah.
Does anyone know or can explain the tax consequence and what Richard Hart is actually explaining with the bridge and it being worthless when you receive whatever you receive, an airdrop or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's designed to be worthless. Like, so by having it as an island with no bridge and it also assumes that no one lists PLS, sorry, and also none of, like, so nothing you theoretically can't have any way of getting anything on the Pulse chain to somewhere where you can exchange it for nation state fiat or goods and services for at least a nanosecond, like at least some amount of time that's not 0, like a non-zero time. Otherwise, there would be tax implications of being airdropped that shit. But by doing it like this, when you receive it, it has no value, and then whatever it appreciates to, even if it's very quick so it'll be like almost like a step function, like and that's why people get confused about this zero value shit. They think they're going to actually be able to buy it at 0. That's dumb. Like, that's not going to happen. So it's effectively a tax strategy. Like, it's a tax benefit to not have it for it to not have a value when you receive it, and that for its value to be realized or measured later.
Yeah. So the coins are deposited in your account at a time before you even have access to the RPC. So there's no possible way that anyone could game the system for there to be a value. When you have access to your tokens, there's a timestamp associated with that. And that's what, right, we care about.
Good point.
Before the RPC was even available. So even if the fastest team imaginable tried to create a bridge within milliseconds of it going live, the timestamp of you receiving the tokens was before the RPC was even available to you, to
That's
anybody.
a good point. And it also stops
right?
someone like a adversarial actor being like, I'm going to list that shit on an exchange instantaneously so that then it has value before it like, you know what I mean? Just to fuck up the strategy. No one can do it because you physically can't, because you won't know. Yeah,
and then a day is just a buffer, right? A day or two is just a buffer. You know what I mean? On that concept.
So with that said, what do you think of the tax consequences? Is the principal value, or is the value that you received it will happen the moment of the bridge takes action at that price? Because I'm just thinking about what is the capital gain? What would be the capital gains? How do you report something?
You got it at zero. You got it at zero. Your cost basis is zero.
Yeah. So it only matters when you sell it then, because you got it at 0. So and obviously this depends on what tax jurisdiction you're in. What I'm saying doesn't apply to everyone, but for most places, if you receive it at 0, then you don't have to do shit. Like, for most places, you don't even need to say that you have it. Like, you don't need to report something until the capital gain is realized. That's for me here and most places. Some places might have a different rules about shit. And in fact, I think they were even trying to change the laws in the US where they wanted to tax people on unrealized capital gains, which is fucking batshit insane. But ignoring that, you typically you won't need to worry about it. And remember all the standard shit. I'm not a tax advisor, etc. But this is I'm talking the general purpose of this structure, which is genius, by the way. It's fucking genius. It also protects people who are unaware of the chain fork or don't want to get involved. Richard's actually doing, or this structure is doing a favor to those people who, either don't know about it or just actively choose to not have anything to do with it, because we've found that in the past, people can get like fucked up tax-wise on airdrops that they didn't even know they received. So this is just such a superior way of handling that, and I guess it's another example of Richard's shit just being like, well thought out and beneficial to all of us. And also, I'm glad that Eric Wall sort of immediately walked back the scam accusation, at least offered to walk back the harshness of the wording, because what he described, even if true, which is debatable, was technically not a scam. Like a founder being apathetical to their own project because they're too busy driving Lambos and buying Louis Vuitton doesn't actually make it a scam.
I got a buddy of mine who got into Hex a year and a half ago. He's not on Twitter. He doesn't do social media. He's a family man. He's a businessman. And actually, my buddy got him into Hex, and we're all friends. And I was shilling it to him. Something he might want to do, blah blah blah. He invested into Hex, and then Pulsechain Sacrifice came around, and he sacked big for Pulsechain cash because he's done very well in his life. And about 4 months ago, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And he's about my age. He's in his early 50s. And the last 2 months, he's been in a hospital. And it doesn't look like he's going to make it. And the moral of the story isn't some sad sob story, feel bad. But the dude hasn't complained one time about Pulsechain launching. Not once to anybody. Not me, not my other friend. My buddy talked about it, and he told his son this. He said, "Man, I just want to stay alive long enough to see Pulsechain launch. That's his goal." So I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad, because I understand fear and doubt and over leveraging and all that crap. I'm an older dude. I've done all the wrong shit before. There's no judgment here. But just his positivity during this has been inspirational for me. I think that's part of the reason I don't sweat any of this shit. I just don't. It's who cares, man. It's just very inspirational. I just want to pass that on to the room, because this dude's just a fucking baller. Just
Sounds like
super cool dude. Super cool dude. Super great wife. Super great kids. Just solid as a rock. And and he understands everything. He understands all the delays. That's what's so amazing. He gets it. He gets it 100%. So I just wanted to share that. But that's the story I wanted to share with the room.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, baby.
I think part of that is definitely that something like that gives you mad perspective, and you stop worrying about shit that is like not like, you know what I mean? And I guess one of the morals of that story is, if you're stressing and upset about Pulsechain not launching, it's probably an indicator that you don't have any shit that's like really fucking terrible in your life. That's, you know what I mean? Like, if that's the thing you're most concerned with.
But this just came up 4 months ago, and the last 12 before that, he wasn't sweating it either. It's just a part of his personality. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, nice.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's not as if he was stressing about it and then got cancer and had an epiphany. It's not like that.
Okay, yeah.
He's been solid all the way through.